other places that have rehabilitation systems and whatnot.
Yeah.
Systems and
I agree.
rehabilitation are significantly less likely to occur.
Certainly,
But like,
because
Securing
that's very
objective
crappy
Charlie.
human-made prison. God-made prison is not like that. It's
yeah.
actually a good.
So why can't God just program these
Charlie
things
secure.
into us without us having to suffer?
So the reason for that is that it
Resupply.
gets sweeter. It's not all bitter. So now we got into the sweeter part. So the sweet part is that the soul naturally wants to love, and this
Securing
when
objective Bravo.
we actually learn to love,
Friendly UAV
then
on
we
station.
get free from all this punishment. And love not only
We're taking
like
Alpha.
in the Bible it says, love God and love your brother, your neighbor.
Do you have free will in
So-
heaven?
The enemy holds 2 objectives.
Certainly.
Secure those positions.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
Does evil exist in heaven?
No.
So what happens to people who would want to do evil in heaven?
No, there's no such thing because they're already pure.
So
It's
they have free will and they were made pure. Okay. So do they, like, for example, I have a question. Do aborted like say a
We're
fetus
taking
that
Bravo.
died through a
Friendly
miscarriage,
UAV online.
like someone has a miscarriage that baby dies, right? Do they go to
We're
heaven?
losing Charlie.
It depends on. In that case, it's hard to say, but basically, then we come into the topic of
Securing
reincarnation.
Charlie.
That
Friendly care
in this
package
world
on the
we
way.
see a baby born in Africa, extreme poverty, and some other kid born in luxury castle. So we can understand that they have a different past. So the laws of this world is like that of karma. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept, but
Hostile cluster mine active.
eye for an eye kind of thing. So
Hostile
if you're
UAV
good
in
in
the
your past
area.
life and you're not liberated yet, you haven't purified that rebelliousness, then you have to come back. You're born again, and you have to suffer
All those
or
miscarried
enjoy.
babies just come back.
Yes, if they haven't finished their purification of the heart, then have to come back. That's called samsara. It's a cycle of birth and death. And
Yeah.
it's
So what
nasty.
We're losing
So
Charlie.
what identifies you
Our
as
UAV is
you
orbiting
now
the
have been
area.
purified? Is it when you have faith in God, or repent, or do
Enemy
good works,
taking
or
Charlie.
what's supposed to happen?
Securing
The
objective
technical
Alpha.
term is
Hostile care
prema
package
bhakti.
deployed.
And bhakti means pure devotion, and prema means
Alpha
love.
secure.
So it's pure
Setting
devotion
mine.
and love. That's it. When that is established in the heart, then there's no more need to be punished.
Enemy
It's
securing
like a
Alpha.
prisoner behaving
Enemy
properly and
UAV
gets
overhead.
released.
Friendly
So that
counter
is
UAV is on
understood as
station. The
liberation.
enemy captured all objectives. Fight back.
So it's
Our
not like you have
strike is
faith or
inbound.
anything. It's
Enemy
that seems
UAV
is
active.
it based on good works, or what is it based on? You just said
Securing
once they hit
Alpha.
this desired standpoint. Well, how do you reach that desired
Securing
standpoint?
Charlie.
There's a
Hostile
process to
UAV
reach
in the
that
area.
level of devotional service.
Hostile
It's a
SAE near your
scientific process,
position.
and it starts with faith.
Securing objective
And
Alpha.
faith is
Objective
exactly
Alpha
what we're doing
secure.
right now. We're talking about how the world works as described by God. We're not trying to figure out
Survivor
by mental
activated. Enemy
speculation.
UAV active.
But God is saying these things. He's saying it works like this and like this,
We're
and if you
losing
want to
Alpha.
be liberated, you do like
Securing
this.
objective
and he gives
Charlie.
instruction.
Secure Bravo.
And it's there in the
Enemy
scriptures
taking
of India.
Alpha.
What scripture should we read about?
Slade.
Well, one of them is Bhagavad
Objective Bravo secure. The enemy
Bhagavad
took
Gita,
Alpha.
and then after studying Bhagavad Gita, there's Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the cream of the Vedic
Look
knowledge.
alive.
And then there's Chaitanya Charitamrita, and there's a lot more to study. And these are huge volumes of transcendental knowledge. It's powerful stuff.
How do we know them to be true?
We're losing Bravo.
Uh, it's like we're doing right now. You have to be
The enemy
exposed to
controls
it.
2
You
objectives.
try to see
We're
like,
taking
oh,
Charlie.
this makes sense.
Enemies
Then you
taking
start
Bravo.
to connect the dots, and
The
it's
enemy
like,
holds
okay,
all
this,
objectives.
this seems
We
to be
control Charlie.
true. So then there has to be a test.
What
Planting
dots do you
Enemy
connect? That's
UAV
what I'm asking.
overhead.
For me,
Enemy
like I'm
UAV
explaining
active.
to you how this world works, what is the purpose of life, all these.
Stand
So
Yeah,
down.
yeah,
you
no, no,
just-
I know you're saying these things, but
One-
from my perspective, these just seem like things that, if we can identify as logical, coherent,
Taking
are just logical as possible. Not to know that these are the case. So how do we
Correct.
jump to like
Yes.
this is the case?
So therefore, yes. So therefore, there has to be practice.
We
So
control
there's a
Alpha.
spiritual practice that is
Hostile
also given
UAV
by
in the
God
area.
himself. And he says, do like this, do like this. So there has to be enough faith to even try the thing, to see if it's
Hostiles
true.
launched an SAE.
So then one practices it under the guidance of
Planting mine.
a spiritual master, which is someone who can actually reach that stage and seeing God directly,
Hostile
face to
VTOL in
face,
the area.
and he can take you there. So that is the process of disciple, becoming a disciple, it's a spiritual practice, and it's a cleansing
objectives
process
secure.
to fix the heart from rebelliousness.
So essentially,
Enemy
like
securing
enlightenment.
Charlie.
Yes, but more than alignment is a very generic word. So if you actually think in terms of love, that is much more accurate. Enlightenment is a little bit
Enemies taking Charlie.
wishy-washy. You know?
Enemy care package
So
incoming.
essentially, once you become a good person, you
lost
go
Charlie.
back to like this great state
We're
of
losing
affairs.
Alpha.
A
Securing
good,
objective
but
Charlie.
not just a good person, because that is also not the
Mission
actual
compromised.
meaning.
We've been
You have
defeated.
to love God, and God is the person. So you love a person like you love your wife or your girlfriend. So it's like as a person. God is a person.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about or add?
Yeah, I would like to see if you understood.
Well, I mean, I have to like look into it. I understand like at least what your position is, right?
Oh.
It takes into account like a whole bunch of different things. For one, it kind of seems like you believe in a monotheistic God, and then you take into a lot of aspects of outside of the context of the monotheistic religions, things that have to do with like Hinduism, karmic, karmic
Yes,
like
Romania.
retribution, like other things like that. So it seems like you take into account like a lot of different things to apply it here. Does God have
It's all-
characteristics like all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good? Or what characteristics does God have?
Yes, he's actually defined by sorry for the parrot. He is defined by 6 qualities. He's the most beautiful, the most powerful, the strongest, the most famous, the richest. There's 6 qualities, and that defines God. Whoever is the most beautiful, the most powerful, the most knowledgeable, that person is God. That's the definition.
So let's say someone is like a really attractive person, is very famous around the world. Are they God?
No, because they're not the most. They have to be the most of all those 6.
Let's say they
That
are the
per-
most of all those things.
Yes, so that person is God. Yes.
Okay, for sure. All right.
Yeah,
Have
so-
a fantastic
so-
day. Oh, go ahead.
So, yes, so that person who has those 6 qualities to the maximum degree, that is God. And that is the definition, the scientific definition of God. So that person is very attractive. Just like when we see someone is very rich, everybody wants to
deathmatch.
talk to him. When someone is very beautiful, everybody wants to talk to them. So when one person concentrates all these features in one, that person is God, and that is the name of God is Krishna, the all attractive.
The lead is ours.
So all
So,
this,
so they could be a human. So God could be human.
It's a person, yes. If he's a person and he takes a human body, yes.
Oh, okay.
That personality, that supreme personality of God, he controls everything. He creates this world, he creates everything. He lives within the heart of every living entity. So all this knowledge is
Friendly UAV
a lot
on
of
station.
a lot of knowledge. It's really complex. It took me years to
We've lost
understand.
the lead.
But I'm just summarizing it very, very in a nutshell. The point is that there is higher knowledge in this world. It's just that very few people are exposed to it, and it is a very, very
Taking the lead.
amazing path that I follow, and that's why you motivated me. Actually, now I'm going to become a TikToker because I want to do
Nice.
explain this stuff, and it's so valuable. You know, I want to share it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This
Definitely
is-
make sure to send me like the resources that you were referring to. I'd like to like check them out and whatnot. All I would say is I don't think it's a necessary condition, right? But we might say that it's like necessarily possible if we can identify it's logically possible. Like just as long as it's coherent. So I'll look into it. Yeah,
Same
definitely.
down. Same side.
All right. Thank you for.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
The enemy's
Thank
taking
you.
the lead.
Yes, everyone, I do see that the Super Bowl is on right now. Okay, I am about to pull it up right now. I was gonna pull it up and watch while I am literally on live. Let me just pull up. I gotta pull up Spectrum real quick just so I can watch it. What is this? Terrible. Yeah, I didn't record anything today. All right, everyone, go Eagles! Yikes! All right, everyone, we're probably gonna have like what is it? Like what we got like 41 minutes left on today's live or so, 30 minutes or so. I think I started just past like 12 o'clock. So once we get to that point, I will end it for today. So probably like 4 o'clock or so, 4:10, 4:20 maybe. But yeah, let me go on to the next person. Why are there so many people like pissed off in the comment section? Y'all need to chill out.
Oh, hey.
Yo, what's up? How old are you?
I'm 19.
For sure. Do you believe in God?
Actually, I do. Okay, and before I start talking, I just want to say, like, this is all my beliefs, like, no matter what you believe in. Like,
Friendly
I'm
UAV
not,
online.
I'm not here to convince you to believe. Well, I am here to convince you, but I'm not here to,
Hostile
be weird
cluster
or
mine
anything.
detected.
So, yeah.
Enemy UAV
But,
active.
okay, so, the only reason why I believe in God is
Resupply
because I feel like I don't know what happened. So, they say the universe started with a Big Bang. Like, what created the Big Bang? You know what I'm saying? Like,
We don't know.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We don't know
So
if
that's
there
why-
was a creation to the Big Bang. The
But
Big Bang
then-
can just be an expansion of the universe and a change in the state
But
of
where did
existence.
the universe come from?
It could have just always existed.
Yeah, but how did it always exist? Like, that's not crazy.
How does God
Like,
always exist?
Loading.
Yeah, no. Like, no. That's my question too, because, but it's like if the universe always existed, it's like what created the universe?
Well, if the universe always existed, there wouldn't be a need for a creator. Because if God's eternal and always existed, there would be no need for a creator because it always existed. If there's no
But how-
beginning point, then you
but how
can't
does
infer that there's a
something-
creation point.
Setting
Yeah,
mine.
but how does something always exist? Like
It just exists. Like what?
Blood for
That's
blood.
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Changing
It's
mine.
crazy. It's
Changing
crazy.
mine.
They said now this guy just no. Literally, I know we don't know the answer.
What's the issue with it that you hold? I mean, I think it's possible. For something to exist.
I don't think it's possible for something to always
What, then what's the contradiction?
I think something had to create.
Why? That's not a contradiction.
Nah, like
That's just you think it has to require a
Stop
creation.
changing mags.
Well, then how can that thing be eternal? That's just gonna lead to infinite regression. You know that, right? Whatever caused
Requesting recon
this
flyover.
needed a cause. Whatever caused that needed a cause. Whatever caused that needed a cause.
to be honest, okay, you think what is it called? I think that there is a God, right? And I think that he did create the universe. But I also think that like you know how people say like time is like cyclical, like time basically goes in like a loop.
Switching mags.
It's almost like what if like God
That's
created
eternal
the universe?
then. You just think God's eternal, but it's a loop.
Yeah, but also, yeah, like if the universe is
So yeah,
eternal, then it always
however
existed. I
God
think
can
that
be
God
eternal,
must have-
think of it the
Setting
same
mine.
thing in terms of the universe.
Yeah. Wait, let me convince. Yeah, no, like no, I don't know. Like I think that he always.
Our
existed,
UAV
if
is
that makes
orbiting
sense.
the area.
Like if the universe always existed, because I think that something had to create.
Pilot online.
If the universe always existed, why would it require a creator?
Because why wouldn't you
UAV
require
ready
a
for
creator?
task.
Like
Reloading.
like the same
it
way
doesn't
like
have a
humans are
beginning?
created. I want to see eternal. No,
Does
yeah,
it have
I
a
think everything
beginning?
has a beginning. Like you have a beginning, I have a beginning. You
Yeah,
know, like
that would mean something eternal has a beginning.
Halfway
An
to
eternal
mission
being
complete.
doesn't have a beginning.
Stay sharp. Friendly UAV online.
Nah, I think it has a beginning. Simply because like you can kind of
Setting
date back to
mine.
like when the Earth was created, when this was created, when that was created, any day back to like where everything just kind of stops, like the Big Bang. It's like what happened before that.
We don't know. But just because we don't know doesn't infer that it's God. We can say that there are possibilities, but I don't think that we can just make a jump to a conclusion. That's why I'm agnostic.
You know what, real? Okay, that's all I had to say. I don't want to. Yeah, that's really
Target's
my whole
down.
thing.
All right, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Planting mine.
All right, let's go to the next person here.
Oh wow.
How old are you?
20.
For sure. Do you believe in God?
I'm a little like confused on that whole situation, but I do have a lot of like knowledge I'd like to
Setting mine.
UAV ready
just
to
like
deploy.
What's your birth year?
Friendly UAV on station.
2003.
For sure.
Hostile UAV
What's your
in the
birthday
area.
actually?
Oh, the 17th of January.
Okay, good. for sure. Go for it.
Hostile cluster mine
So
deployed.
like my whole thing on God is like I'm kind of where that one guy was when he was talking about kind of like Indian philosophy and stuff like that because I listen to a lot of yogis, and I would say that there definitely is a higher intelligence that willed this existence or wouldn't be existing, but I wouldn't give it an identity because I don't know what identity, as I wouldn't even say it's anything. But at the same time,
Planting mine.
sorry, my nerves are a little
How do we know that they exist?
You said what? Because we're experiencing it.
Oh, so you just think
UAV is
existence
orbiting
is
the
that?
area.
Are you a pantheist?
I think kind of like existence itself is kind of the God, like kind of like
Oh, so you're God?
in a way, but
This sprite can is God?
yeah, but not really the definition of God that we usually already have in
What's the definition of God?
I take care of my
existence.
people.
God is just kind of existence, not really like a thing of authority. Then again, it
But
could
does there have to be a higher existence?
not necessarily because that's all existing in Maya. It's if the fact that it's existing
Ready to
means
deploy.
what's outside of existence that willed it is beyond it. And I'm saying that that's like kind of the source that India points to. So everything, even the thoughts I'm saying to you are all Maya. Everything that I create is all Maya. But beyond that, beyond like thought in your brain, beyond emotion, beyond anything the physical can experience, is kind of like what's it called, awareness
Recon
or
flyover.
consciousness, and that's what they see as the source, which what we would call God in other religions or stuff like that. But I will say, there is other things I've seen that tie into Christianity being real, and I wouldn't really like draw a line and say I know it is or not. But there is some things I wanted to share with you just to get your opinion on them.
Friendly UAV
And one of them
online.
is the topic of Jesus, and I want to know if you believe that he really lived on the planet.
RTV at this time.
Yeah, I believe Jesus existed.
Okay. And I've seen like there's
Planting
this
mine.
the cloth that he was buried in. I wish I could remember the exact thing. But anyway, on the cloth.
I know what you're referring to. My brain is someone's gonna say in the comments section.
Our UAV is orbiting the
Give it
area.
literally 1 second. Straight of turn. My bad. I literally just wrote a report on it.
Oh wow, that's
Friendly
crazy.
UAV overhead.
So you probably know about how it like showed a picture of him about the cloth.
Yeah, I mean, well, there are issues with the reports. All the explanations that people provide from like the spiritual account haven't actually been backed up.
The only one that I've seen that backed it up to me, what I'd get your opinion on,
You
is
will die here.
so basically in the what's it called where we nuke people in Japan, Hiroshima, and
Yeah,
Nagasaki.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah.
Yeah, basically there's like you can see the imprints of those people
Enemy
where
UAV
everything
active.
is like took place, and it was explained the reason that happened is because intense light from the nuclear explosion created like just like the colors of everything to change except for what they were blocking. And if you look at
The debt is repaid.
Jesus that did the same thing inside the cloth, and he said if you look at DNA, whenever it becomes alive, it excretes light very quick, like a nuclear explosion. And so when Jesus, they say whenever he resurrected himself from dead flesh to living flesh, the intense light created a photograph of him, and that's like God saying this is the world's first photograph before photographs were ever taken. But he did it through supernatural
Got 'em on the
ability.
run.
Ammo
Keep
here.
it up.
You know that's a
Hostile
shadow,
UAV in the
though,
area.
right? The thing is, in this situation though, there's no radiation.
I know. All I'm
Planting
saying
mine.
is like, according to that right there, that
Battery
is how it
depleted
got
for
there, from the
sentry.
imprints of basically his flesh becoming activated because it says that there's no way it could be anything else because the threading is too thin. Now, personally, I don't know if it's all true, but I found it very interesting. And it made
That's I'm pretty sure that's the hypothesis that didn't actually hold up. I don't quite remember the
Final minute.
reason, but I could bring someone on to explain that right now because they would know a lot more about the shred of turn than I do.
yeah, it's up to you if you want to, or we.
Yeah,
Dog,
for sure.
I got-
I'll add Matt real quick. Matt, you want to send a guest request, and I'll accept you in just to explain this, because Matt knows a lot about the shred of turn and whatnot that
Alright.
I have no clue about.
Also, I would
complete.
say before
Solid
I go,
work.
unless you really want to bring him on.
Oh no, I was gonna bring him on right now with you on, just so
Oh,
that y'all can talk about that. Yeah.
Good game.
TikTok. Yeah. Okay. No, forgot you.
Yeah, I don't have to take you off or anything like that. Yeah. You can stay on. I can add multiple people. Once Matt sends a request. There we are.
That's.
There we go.
Hey,
what's
what's
up, Matt?
How you
How you
doing? I'm good,
Good,
thanks.
of course.
Hey, guest, how you doing? So,
Good,
oh,
good.
good. So, yeah, I, if you're asking about the imprint of the Travis Current, so I've heard also that kind of theory about or the hypothesis about the light being given off and that kind of doing like an imprint of it. Unfortunately, we'd have to infer that it goes outside the laws of physics to the way that it doesn't impart radiation, right? Because the nuclear thing that you mentioned, the shadows and everything, those always imparted like radiation, and the shadow and the radiation did not produce detail. It only produced shadows.
I
So
think what so now that it's hitting my brain, and radiation. I don't think the radiation itself is what caused it. I think the intense light, like the intense,
no, no,
like
yeah, I understand
light.
that, but I'm saying a product of the light itself is radiation.
Okay, okay.
So the cloth would be imbued with radiation as a natural byproduct.
Quick question. I don't really know this personally. Is can light be formed outside of radiation?
Light is radiation.
Okay, so it's just radiation basically.
Yeah, photons are a form of radiation.
Okay, okay, okay.
So unless you hypothesize that it's some like a divine light that operates outside the bounds of modern of like the laws of physics, then you have to understand that whatever light is given off is going to have some effect within physics, and that's going to give off radiation, which will then be imbued within the material.
Okay, so and that's what you're saying is in the material there's no radiation found, right?
Yeah, there's no radiation. It's not radioactive
Ah, okay, okay. That actually
because
that
radioactivity lasts a very long time, right? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so you would be able to trace the isotopes within the cloth, and you could trace it back to a certain time when it was formed, all that kind of stuff. And the cloth itself is not radioactive.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to do some more research on that because I'm not very educated on
No, it's all right. No, I mean that's one hypothesis about it, but also I would ask you too, the detail of the outline of the man who's on the cloth. Look up the anatomy of the body itself, right? So
yeah,
the anatomy is off because if you look, pay attention to his arms, you'll notice that his hands are covering his groin area,
yeah.
right? So in order to make that happen, they have to elongate his elbow and his fingers. His
I think
fingers and hand and his elbows are like unnaturally
real
long.
quick, we're talking about Jesus. I would say that probably happened to his body as a form of from hanging on the cross.
Well, see, that's a good point, but that would only affect the shoulders,
Body
not
is
the elbow or the hand. Literally, the digits of his hand, right, and his elbow is physically elongated, as if someone elongated his bones.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hanging on the cross, I feel like would do that to him.
Well, but the hanging on the cross would only dislocate your shoulder.
Well, I don't know. We haven't hung on a cross. It could do many things.
No, but we have victims who have hung on the cross,
I'm
and we
saying,
have their bones.
I know, and it probably did different effects to each one of them.
Yes, but you'd have to hypothesize though that the effect of the cross not only caused his elbow to be out of socket, but that it like literally elongated his fingers, where the fingers were not affected by the crucifixion.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point right there. The fingers, that could be something else, or it could just be, it's 2,000 years old and it's kind of hard to get perfection. But then again, you have a good point. I'm not arguing that it's right or wrong. I'm just
Well,
arguing.
but remember too, if you look at it from the point of view of art, right? You know, is this art? Why would someone want to cover up the groin and elongate fingers, right? It's because they are living within a society that is modest. They don't want to show off anything that is
I don't know.
too.
There was a lot of sexual stuff back then as well.
Well, yeah, but not. But the cloth is hypothesized to have been made around the 1300s, right? During that time, if it was made by some sophisticated Christian person, they're not going to want to show Jesus's, bottom parts, right? They're going to cover it up in whatever manner they can, and by elongating his anatomy, like his fingers, that's one way to cover it up. That's just the point.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's true. Because like whoever buried him could have did it just based for himself. I don't really know about all. I'm just saying these are thoughts that are in my mind, like questions that will, questions that will. I will say this from a yogic standpoint. This is like where I'm like I would say I'm confused because and it's better to be confused than draw a conclusion is what yogis say because there's somebody I watched called Sadhguru, and he said from a young age he noticed that every single person always thought they knew that this was God or that was God. They knew aliens, they knew all these things, they knew it, but he knew that really they know nothing. It's all belief. Like right now, if I tell you I know this, that means I know it. I know it's gonna happen. Like this controller, I know when I let go, it's gonna drop. I really know that. I don't know how it all works, but I know that it will fall, at least in my perception. But belief is a different thing. Belief means you don't know, but you have faith that it could exist out there. And so that's
Wait,
what
no,
he.
that's what faith is. That's what faith. Belief is just saying I think something to be true.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Belief is like you don't know if it exists, but I have faith that it might.
Yeah, no,
But
Belief would require knowledge because if you're saying that it's true without knowledge, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because the
no,
way
no,
you're defining faith, I mean, defining belief, it seems to either be like faith or hope.
yeah, no, I'm 100%. I'm saying that I'm not saying that belief is the answer. I'm saying that a lot of people in this world have belief about things about a knowledge that they have accumulated, but they don't truly know if that knowledge is true or not. And that's the difference between believing something or knowing something. Knowing something means you 100% know that knowledge is true. But when you have a whole bunch of people coming
That's
on,
not true.
well, I was coming on here.
I would say knowledge doesn't imply certainty.
I would say knowledge is something you can pick up. It's just like an accumulation. Like language is a knowledge. If I say "ara makira sumuka," you don't know what I just said because you haven't accumulated anything for your mind to attach to that. But if you look at the process of what's happening in your brain itself, all that is accumulation. And then they talk about dimensions of the body. So what I'm talking about is that's one dimension. There's another dimension called chitta, which is your third eye, which is beyond that, which is beyond anything you've accumulated. Even the body itself, the body is a food body. So what I'm saying is like you don't feed a baby, the baby doesn't grow. Your body is an accumulation of the food you eat. So just all these accumulations that you accumulate in life are what you're experiencing. There's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, we're experiencing it for something, maybe to have fun, maybe just to experience. But um, I'm saying like beyond all that, I don't know. It's just like some people will come here in this experience say, I know that this is God or I know that this is the answer. But would you bet your life on it? Tell me, would you? And most people probably wouldn't. So it means you believe it and you have faith, which is nothing wrong. But we have killed each
Well, it
other.
just means that they have faith. I wouldn't say believe. Believe again. I still think requires knowledge. Maybe it's just how we're defining it. It's just semantical here necessarily.
Why do I believe Jesus? Because I have faith he existed. That's that they correlate with each other.
Well, but we have
Yeah,
external
faith
evidence
we would
of
say
his
is
existence.
yeah, faith we would say is belief without evidence. That's what I mean. That's how at least how I define faith. Or some people say evidence of the unseen or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are some things that I was throw out there because I heard that guy in here talking a lot about yogic stuff, but I felt like it's too much of accumulation. He's hurting his head and is repeating it instead of just actually looking within and saying some things they observed. And I'm not trying to judge him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just saying I'm also interested because he said karma. He said, but the word karma doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean you do this and this happens to you. If you look at the word karma, where it rooted from, which yogis will all say it means action. The word karma means action, and so your karma is what your action is in this world. And honestly, I believe the yogis because I believe like this knowledge has been around for 15,000 years of human beings, and all I think that happened is they popped up on a planet. They didn't know what was going on. They sat down, and then they're able to sit for days. And if you ask me, if there's people out here with their consciousness who are able to sit for days without food or water and they talk about these things versus someone who's a college professor who just spews out information but goes and eats Dunkin' Donuts and all that right after. Honestly, I would say that the yogi's probably more intelligent about the human system they're experiencing because they're literally doing it. And then it's kind of like
That doesn't follow at all because if you haven't eaten or if you haven't drank anything, your IQ is like legitimately lower. You know that, right?
no, there's breatharians. Look it up. I think that human beings have been trained to overeat actually, and that's the problem with us.
No, people who are like hungry, they go through episodes where they can't think as much because everything is necessarily going on for them. It might over like an extended period of time, you being used to it, you might be able to necessarily be able to do that, right? But given those particular circumstances, not only does it increase the likelihood of of like hallucinations or of psychosis or things like that, but it also like yeah, it does reduce your IQ.
Yeah, it happens to people who do it who aren't in a circumstance where they're willingly doing it, or in a circumstance where they're willing to do it for spiritual reasons and know how to do it. They're just doing it to do it. It's kind of like if I sit here and say I'm gonna do something that I have no foundation for, and then I just say it doesn't work. Well, you didn't build the foundation to try to experience that. Yogis have built. That's why they have good, because you're.
This is essentially saying the same thing as alcohol doesn't affect me when I drive, because if I drink a bunch of alcohol, I can drive and be fine.
Well, it depends on your body. There's actually a yogi who took 100 tabs of LSD and it didn't affect him because he talked about literally like what I'm trying to say.
100 tabs, they were fake. There's no way.
You can I
It
forget.
it can't just not affect you if it's real, dude.
Okay, well, Sadhguru Live, right? Sadhguru Live. You can watch this video on YouTube. Drunk a pint or a thing of snake's venom. The human body is resilient when you make it that way, because we're not designed to sit in boxes like we do right now. We're actually designed to be out in nature, but our bodies aren't used to that anymore. And when we're out there,
What do you mean designed for, right? That's just what we
Okay, well-
adapted to, and now we adapt to the environments that exist now.
well, when you look at the planet, it's not some big house, is it, or some big box that we live in? It's an Earth that grows. It has water on it. It grows trees. It has nature. But
Yeah,
human
and that's just the environment we adapted to. That doesn't mean we were designed
remove
in a
humans.
particular way. It just means
Uh,
that's what?
Remove
that?
humans from the planet. What happens to the planet? It fixes itself. Remove ants from the planet. You can't have life. Remove worms from the planet. Can't have life. Remove humans. Oh, everything's fine again. So it looks
Well,
like
that's not necessarily true though, right? Because
Yeah,
because if you remove ants or worms, something will fill that niche.
exactly.
if
It'll just take time, but something will fill that niche.
you remove humans, I feel like something will fill that niche too. But maybe, hopefully,
Well,
something.
yeah, you're probably right, but that's how evolution works, right? It'll just take a very long time, but like something will fill the niche.
Okay, well, okay, I would say that that's cool, but then why don't we as conscious beings just, I don't know, I feel like and I'm not accusing anybody. I mean, maybe y'all agree with me. I'm just saying overall as human beings, I think what we should focus on is actually things like that, and making the planet better again, because that's why I kind of go back to Jesus, because I did see a video about this thing called Freemasonry and a whole bunch of things, because I've always believed like human beings are up to something on the planet. That's why we kill each other, make nukes, invest billions of dollars in it. We plan to use it eventually, or we wouldn't invest that much money. And so I've always felt like stuff's going on and that I need to look into it. And I found a video. It's called the X Factor Winner Reveals the World's Secret Religion. And it's like 5 hours long, and I watched a lot. Like, I watched it all a couple of times, and I know I'm just gonna repeat accumulated knowledge, like I've already just pointed out, but it's kind of what we're already all doing. So, and this is kind of where I said I feel confused. I don't want to draw a line, but I do have like this going on, and also a whole bunch of things in my mind that I've looked at and made my mind susceptible to, that poke at the mind, that is hard to just drop. And like how a yogi would tell me, let it go. But sometimes these aren't little thoughts like, oh, I'm insecure about this, or no, this is like, okay, well, why does the U.S. government have documents about Lucifer? Why does the FBI have a document about Lucifer?
Wait, what are you talking about? What document?
Watch the video. There's documents, there's books. It's kind of like this, right? Let's say me and you are Crips or whatever, and you're living where you live and I'm living where I live, but we still throw up the C whether we know each other or not, just because we're representing something we're a part of. So why do all the people, whether they're leading this country or that country, throw up the 666 over their eye, do Freemasonry things? It's because they're all a part of something that is being orchestrated by, in my opinion, what we might call aliens or something like that. I don't really know.
Are you just saying when people do this?
Yeah.
Like, people literally say that's a fucking like, dude. That's literally me saying that's okay, man. That's literally like it was
I'm
like a
not saying-
meme.
I'm
You
not saying-
understand that, right?
Does it knows what it's for, but I'm saying that like it can be used for that, and that's what I'm saying is that
Wait. So, but you're implicating just because people use it that it would mean it would all be together. What I'm trying to say you do here is that you set your conclusion or like what you think is already true, and then you look for things to necessarily substantiate that. So when you were looking at like, oh, I think that like humans do some evil things and like whatnot. So I think that there's probably some like Freemasons that like control things or whatnot, right? That's the sort of presupposition that you're like, oh, I think that there's already some type of secret control, and then now you're looking for evidence for those particular things. Thank you for the handout for shit. And when you go on social media, right, you respond to content like that, you're gonna see a lot more content like that. And if you only see that as evidence, that's what's gonna seem like reality to you.
well, no,
But it's just essentially what you've created yourself through the
Okay,
algorithm is
right.
a
I don't know where you live right now, but if you go on your maps and search up Masonic Lodge, it's everywhere in the world. So it's not like I'm speaking of something that isn't existing. It's every single where. It's every place in the world that these lodges exist. And so if you actually study Freemasonry and what it's about, when you get to the higher ranks, like, okay, for example, you want to move up in it, tell me why you have to crawl around on the floor with a rope on your neck. Just read the books. Just read the books. And it'll tell you what you do while you're in there. Why do you have to do weird stuff like that? Let grown men slap you on the butt. Cover your eyeballs.
I don't know about any of those things, but the
But
thing
that's-
is, you know, weird things like that exist within a lot of different facets of life. Like frat houses used to haze people all the time.
But
right?
these
I
are
mean, some places still fucking do. Different religions, worship gods, right? Or a god, or that follow particular like ideals or philosophies, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's lots of things like this that exist in other facets of life. I don't know why we're just hyper fixating on it.
Have you
for
ever heard
this.
guests of
I
the
would- I just would say, personally, the only reason I'm worried about it is, I wouldn't worry about them if they were nobodies. Who you can think what you want, but when they're the people who control the money I have, they have literally. Have you looked at the dollar? There's a pyramid on it that says, with it says New Order of the Ages. The bottom of the pyramid, if you watch the X Factor video, he breaks it down. It actually adds up to 666. Why is that there? Oh, let's just not question it.
I don't know about the 666 thing, but
Look at-
the reason why it's there is actually due to like the founding of the U.S. The founding of the U.S. where the New World Order is referring to like the 1776 document and whatnot.
Yeah, and if you
Um,
numbers, if you subtract those base numbers from the root numbers, it equals 666. Same on the
what
Australia.
base numbers from what root numbers?
I forget exactly. I can pull up the video real quick. I'll just show you it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that like this, like with numbers that people try to point to that like justify these types of things. Honestly, I don't know how any of this would match up, right? Just numbers have particular meanings because we've designated meanings to those particular numbers, at least in like
Right.
the numerological sense, right? So if we're just designating meaning to these particular numbers, right, from a post hoc sense, right, this already happened. Obviously, you can make anything mean anything.
Okay, if you can make anything mean anything, then that's like me saying I can go up and like rape somebody and say I think that means love.
What? No, you have to say SAR word, by the way, because it's against TikTok terms of service. But what? We're talking about the usage of language. What are you referencing?
Okay, what I'm referencing is what these people do from influence of their beliefs. They do worse than that, and it's like literally I've seen videos of it. I could actually pull up one. You have to go to YouTube and search up search filters, like, and you have to put it on like newest, because they don't put it on. It has to be people who are random uploading this stuff, that don't get that many views. But hold on, let me see if I can find it for you.
Yeah, but everything you see on the internet, you know, it's not true, right?
Well, how do you know that? Because there is some things on the internet that are true.
You think everything on the internet is true?
I didn't say everything, but I think there's some things.
That's all I was saying. Everything on the internet is not true.
But how
So
do
you
you know
have to apply levels of skepticism to everything.
everything in this
You
video?
don't know, and that's why you assume levels of skepticism.
Okay, I actually from the beginning of the live, I told you I've been confused, but these are the things that I'm pointing out of the confusion because, like Sadhguru said, a yogi, he said it's better to be confused than draw conclusions about everything. And I'm not drawing conclusions. I'm just simply investigating everywhere what my mind accumulates. I'll spew out. I'll get other people's opinions. But I'm not sitting here saying that this is right or wrong. I'm simply just seeing what happens when I speak it. And all that I see happening when I speak it is really, honestly, I mean, it seems like it's rejected, which kind of lines up with the word of God. But I don't know if that's true or not. You know,
Of course, every belief system's like, oh, everyone's just gonna not take into account what I'm saying. Everyone says that. Everyone makes that claim. What I'm trying to do right now is I'm applying the same level of skepticism that I apply onto every belief that I have, right? And a lot of people think that if you just don't accept the belief right in front of you, no matter what, you just aren't willing to accept it and whatnot.
No, I'm
What
not-
I'm showing you is that a lot of these things, like conspiracies and whatnot, they're possible, but it doesn't seem like they're the best explanation of the matter. Because if we were to assume them to be true, the expectations that we would have for them wouldn't actually match up. Like, for example, if we're talking about things like the Freemasons or the Illuminati and whatnot, they'd be more likely to just take down my live and never let me even post, even on my second or third or fourth account, right? They would just immediately put it at 0 views and I would never even get sent out.
Account third or fourth account. Immediately put it at 0 views. They would just immediately put it at 0 views,
yeah,
and I
okay.
would never even get sent out.
Yes.
Actually,
I'm muting him. I'm muting him for right now. And then once he fixes it, I just can't do it. It was so bad.
I thought it was me. Like, oh shit.
No, it wasn't. That was bad. Once
Okay,
this
well, while-
video comes back, I'll
Hey.
unmute him. Is it better now?
hello? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
what's up? Hello? I hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
It's lagging again. Hold on.
If you want to send a guest request back, go for it.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I don't know why people never like assume their own theories to be true to test to see if they actually make sense.
Yeah, I understand that. So I'm gonna buy you a beard, okay? So I'm gonna send you a fake beard. You want to have a long ZZ Top like beard because this banning shit is getting out.
It is getting out of
stupid.
hand. It really
All
is.
right,
Getting out
I'm
It's
of
back.
actually
hand.
unbelievable.
I'm back. Hold on. Let me cut the camera on so people see the rawness. Nah, I'm just saying, like, okay, for example, in this video, I actually hope none of this that I'm watching is true. I actually hope that all this is false because I'd love for it to be false and me look back and be like, man, I was just tripping. I was just tripping, you know. I was young, you know, I was tripping and I was worried about the world. Um, but like I have, and I will say, like I have done a lot of research outside of this. This is not just like 5 minutes of me looking. This is probably about 4 or 5 years of me intensely searching, whether that's believable when I say it or not. Like you'd have to, and that can't prove it to you. You can just take my word on it or not. But I promise you, for the past 4 years, since I was like 15 or 16, probably 16. Well, 4 years, then I'm 20. I've really been interested in this stuff because my dad brought me into it. My father. So not many people have a parent in their life that's interested in yogis and all that very intensely, that have done it a lot their life, that brings them into it and influences them very heavily. And so even then I was raised Christian, and I guess I just had like the beliefs in my head like about God already. And then a lot of that was, you know, changing. But obviously when you're raised from the Bible, right, everything outside of it has to be demonic or something, is that's what the Bible tells you, because it's all flair or all a deception to distract you from what's real. And so yeah, obviously when I got into yoga and all that, I questioned if it was demonic and stuff like that. Even now, I guess, with all this stuff going on in my mind, not as much, but it's kind of like I would question things like that. But then I found this video out of nowhere. Like it just came to me. And actually, the few nights before, I had a very weird dream, which I was sleeping next to my girlfriend, and I got physically, like in real life, I was pulled out of the bed. And I don't know how, but I woke up on the floor, and I remember not really questioning it. I just went back to sleep. But then I woke up a few days later and I remembered it. Like I was just sitting there a few days later and I just remembered it. And I was like, yo, was that real or not? Because I actually woke up on the floor, but I don't see how I got there. Because like in my head, I was like, I got pulled. I could have rolled off, but it's kind of hard to roll off because I'd have to roll over her and then off. In the dream, I just slid feet first, and but to me that was just weird. And then it's just funny how this video came around that time because I don't really know what it all meant. But anyway, and like a lot of people, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like me going to school, watching a movie, telling people what I seen in the movie. They're sitting here saying that's not true, that didn't happen, but they didn't watch the movie. They didn't look at any of the information I seen, and then they're just telling me it's wrong. And so that's kind of what I've like got a lot from like telling this to people is every time I tell them, they just instantly
Before
tell
you
me
keep
it's
going on
wrong.
that, I want to tell you that's not what I'm telling you. I'm not telling you anything is wrong here. What I'm saying is that it's probable or possible, but it's not the best explanation of the matter. Right? Like,
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I
unless
would
we had
just
more evidence pointing towards this, like I wouldn't hold this position, but I'm gonna
Mhm.
apply this as a base level of skepticism. Like there always could be a possibility of us being controlled, but under the guise that this is not the case. Because like think about it, we could apply the same sort of hypothesis onto me live right now. Right? I go live, people see me on here all the time. I technically could be paid by George Soros and Pfizer or all the big companies just to come on here and promote propaganda. Right? But are we going to believe that to be true just because I have a presence or a platform?
I think intuition's real, so I can sense that that's not true. But also at the same time, outside of all that, if you want like logical answer, nah, I guess not. But I will say that a lot of what he's shown in this video, I've done my own research on to confirm if it was true, and I keep just to make sure that I've been trying to make sure he's false because like I said before, I don't want any of this to be true. But it's kind of hard to do that. Every time I try, I just keep digging and digging and finding more evidence. That's actually kind of what the case of
Wait,
Christ.
evidence pointing towards it being true or evidence that just doesn't
For
point
example,
towards it being false? Because if we're telling us to like prove a negative claim, that's not going to make sense. Because like
for me,
example, prove to me that unicorns don't exist. Like
yeah, no. For me, it's just been finding more evidence that it is real, and I don't know about the whole religion part or Jesus, but outside of that, I do feel like there's a threat upon humanity. Like for example, You seem like a very normal person who doesn't have evil thoughts, right? I'm like that too, and your friend is like that. Let's say, for example, I get to lead America, and let's say the president of each country actually truly makes every decision, which I don't know, but let's just say we get full authority of what we can do with the
They're
country.
essentially dictators, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like so you can have any country you want. I'll have America. This guy can have whatever he wants, or we can have our own. Now we're having whatever we have. And I want something you have, you want something I got. Should I send all my soldiers over there to kill your soldiers, and fight for it, and do some evil stuff to your people, like kill your people, literally to get something I want? And then
No,
that
why?
would probably be no. But why is that occurring in the world? That's actually what's occurring.
Oh, why do
Actually,
people? Because people want money and power,
well, that's
right?
what
We wouldn't see it as the moral thing, but they
and
want to put themselves in a situation where they have control over other people.
But
that's
no,
what
if you want like an explanation for it,
problem.
right? We have an explanation for it. I mean, through evolution, we are tribal beings. Like our psychology is tribal. You know, we are social tribal beings, and so power and wanting to conquer and all that kind of stuff is kind of in our nature. But luckily, through civilization, through rationality, through science, we can um, negate some of those more
Or
tribal
through,
instincts that we have.
or through meditation.
Okay,
That's
yeah, I mean, or meditation. I mean, I don't disagree that, but
no,
what I'm saying is one of the benefits of having higher level cognition that we do is that we can think about our tribal nature and hopefully sometimes overcome that, right?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
all the time, but you know, so, and that's why we have wars. That's why we have people going out and just wanting to conquer for stupid reasons. It's because that's part of the human nature. But it doesn't take some grand conspiracy to explain it. It's just part of human nature through the biological process that we have.
Yeah, yeah, you could argue that. And that's a good point too. I wouldn't say that I 100% lead towards that. I honestly think that human beings are meant to do something way different here. That's like, and it might sound supernatural when I say it, but I just think it's like it's kind of like to say there's no intelligence behind this creation. Then what's the point? What's the point? Why do I have like
We
five?
make our own point. We make our
Exactly.
own
Who said that?
meaning.
But who said that? That's like a thought
We
that
do.
Ourselves. That's
Yeah,
literally
we
ourselves, because
do.
we are sentient beings with rationality, and
I
we
don't
can
know.
identify that and be self-aware of it.
Okay, okay.
I mean, think about it. I mean, honestly, think about it. If this universe and its intrinsic nature is meaningless, right? That outside of us there's no meaning, and that we're only on this earth for a very short amount of time. What we do at that time will impact others and will impact the short-term future
But
of
what's
others and
but
the
what's the
planet.
point in all that? Like if
Because you make people's lives better, you can do things that
but
will
what
impact
designed
others.
that to have that? What designed all that? What why does the creation want to experience that?
Because we
Wait,
have
you're
higher order
presupposing the
cognition.
design and creation when you say creation and who designed that. You're presupposing that
It-
you have to have this
like,
position, or or there's a necessity for there to be a cause or for a being to create the universe, which is a
no,
presupposition. Thank you
I'm
to the
saying
paper crane.
like y'all are saying that there's an intention behind creation, but I'm saying then what put that intention there?
No, I'm saying there is no intention behind
Say
Yeah, he's
creation.
saying there is no intention. Yeah.
because to say you make your own, that's an
Yes,
intention itself. That's
we as humans, right? We have cognition and consciousness that is unique to all
okay.
species
I think
on this earth.
explain what intention is really quick from a yogic standpoint when I say that because I feel like the
Okay.
definition of it's off. Okay, a baby doesn't know how to tell you it's hungry, right? Through language. It can't just say I'm hungry. It hasn't learned those words yet. But you can feel its intention when it's pushed, when it's energetically pushing it or crying. You can feel what's wrong. Mothers, for example,
No, you
intuition.
just have prior experiences.
Okay,
You have
Plus,
prior
babies cry when
experiences
they're hungry.
that tell you, yeah,
humans-
that tell you that babies when they're crying they're likely to be hungry.
okay, well, let's say they're not crying. Let's say, like, you can tell. Okay, for example, watch this. You can believe me or not when I say this. This is just what I'm going to tell you. And this is just an experience I've had. For one day, I was driving down the road, right? And I ran out of gas and my heart dropped. I got scared. Ding, right on my phone. I swear to you, not even 2 seconds after. I swear to you, my girlfriend texted me and said, "Are you okay?" Question mark. She's my ex now, but at the time she was. And that right there alone was like kind of like proof to me that intuition is real. There's another one that I have, whether you believe me or not. My friend's mom was literally saying she had a vision of him breaking his arm at the game. He did it that game. Like it's just kind of like sometimes I feel like whatever you want to call it, higher, whatever, will interfere with human life and make things happen. And I don't really know why not. It's an infinite universe. If it's an infinite universe, anything can exist. If you're telling me it doesn't exist, it's not infinite. There's a capacity of what can be contained inside of it.
Yeah, my mom every single time I went to a game would literally think that. Would think that I would like break my arm or something bad would happen to me. Every single time I left the house, she would think that's possible. So I
Well,
mean, I
that,
don't think there's necessarily intuition. I just think that like parents or like significant others, whenever they don't like hear from you or like there's just like nothing going on, might necessarily just like say that.
what would you be? What would be your answer to what happened between me and my girlfriend then? Whenever, as
I
soon
would
as
say it's a coincidence,
a
genuinely speaking.
coincidence. Okay,
Hmm.
that's fair. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, actually, and something I
Like
need
there's
to.
a possibility that there's like just like an intuition that she felt or something like that because like she knows you or something like that.
That's what
But
I'm
like
saying.
I would say most likely it's probably a coincidence.
All right, yeah, and also there's a lot of science behind the gut. What the gut is, it's actually it's not really a second mind. It's just another mind itself, and it does other things. Um, and so that's what I
It's
was,
anxiety. It's anxiety and like the flight and fight response.
yeah. But if you look, that's what I'm saying. Like yoga, it just goes so much like it goes about your nadis and your chakras. And it talks about how like I can't even really explain it, but to me it just seems like okay, for example, it's like you have a gut feeling. I just always trust my gut feeling and it seems to be right. That's how I usually live my life. And what I'm saying is like I have a gut feeling about all these things because I have a gut feeling you're a normal person and your friend in here. I've never met y'all in person, but I have a feeling. And if we were to have a country, right, we wouldn't make decisions like that. Almost everybody in this live, I guarantee you, is like us, a normal person. You could talk to them in public if you ran up on them and have a okay conversation, but and I'm sure most people wouldn't want to kill each other, but the people who lead us make those decisions that actually like cause that to happen. And to me, just to me personally, I kind of live in a state of I want I feel like I need there has to be something behind that because it's kind of like where did these people come from that are like this and why are they leading us and why are they making these decisions? Why is there also so much being covered up, like all the secrets and all that? And then it just makes me question the whole where am I at? Okay, if all this is occurring in my existence, then what kind of existence am I in? And that's where it kind of goes where I would say, like I said before, I don't really want to draw a conclusion and say it's this or that, but in my mind I go between honestly, the yogis could be right, and we just need to make peace on the planet, or Jesus could be right, and this planet's falling either way, and you can try to help people or not. But either way, in my opinion, it doesn't change the circumstances, whether I say this is true or not, of what's actually occurring, and what's actually occurring on the planet is evil stuff that makes me question it. And so I know this is kind of going off of, prove to me God exists, but it kind of correlates with what God could it be if that's where we're existing? And that's kind of what I was pointing to is like, that's why I'm bringing all this into the conversation itself because it does kind of back up why God kind of would have a purpose then if all humans do this. But at the same time, I could, like I'm saying, I hope I'm wrong about all this. I hope creation is something different. I don't really know, but that's hey, I got a song out talking to creation. You know what I'm saying?
One thing here is intuition can be useful for knowledge, but that doesn't mean that intuition is always correct. The
Okay.
same sort of way, like for example, Newtonian physics can be useful for knowledge in some circumstances, but we know that it's not always right, and that's why I use things like general relativity
Well,
and now quantum mechanics. Why? Because it's not useful in all circumstances, and it can actually give us wrong results, right?
mm, I
So
would.
so again, just because something's useful doesn't necessarily mean that it's always true. So when you just say like, "Oh, I believe that intuition is true," well, generally sometimes, yeah, intuition or trusting your gut might be a good thing or might be able to get you to do the right thing, but it's not always going to be true. So it's the reflection process that you apply back onto your intuition is going to be very important.
I have one question and one little thing to say. I agree with that. I do agree with that in like some aspects because I've noticed it about myself. So maybe I'm not using it correctly. But I also do think intuition is not necessarily not going to guide you wrongs, and I would argue that. And the other thing I would say, knowledge is kind of meaningless in this world because I could know every single piece of knowledge that has existed in this entire planet. But if we're in an infinite universe, then I know a speck of what of nothingness really. So I'm saying that like Sadhguru points out, it's better not to go around accumulating knowledge everywhere, which is I find myself doing anyway. But I don't sit here and say like in my opinion or something like that it's absolute. I'm just sharing it. But what I'll say is like that's kind of just the point itself. Is like, I feel like knowledge itself isn't really going to get us anywhere, human beings. I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like it might be what the yogis are saying, dropping knowledge itself as a form of thought or something, and really just experiencing what they call a bliss body, which is like, okay, like I actually, let me stop branching off there. I wanted to ask you this really quick because I don't want it to leave my mind. And I don't really know what you believe, but do you think that space is infinite?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay,
Likely not, I would say.
that's fair because I feel the same way because I've seen a lot of
But it depends what you mean by infinite. Like, cause like, infinite by size or infinite in terms of existence. Like eternal.
Yeah, like eternal, like it just goes on.
Oh,
forever.
okay. Eternal. It's possible.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of people like use that word, and here's the questions I would say to them, which I just respectfully want to know human to human because I forget what Jordan Peterson said, but he said there's like this many photons or something in the universe that make up this or whatever. I don't forget what he said, but basically he was saying there's a capacity in a in an unlimited universe, and my whole argument against is the limitless universe theory that they say we're in and they've taught us is okay, then absolutely anything can exist and will exist, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Because if it doesn't exist, you're telling me that I can think of a Pop Tart floating in space in my brain, but out there in that infinite cosmos, it won't be there. That's kind of like saying there's a limit. That's like saying here's a gun. It has infinite ammo. You shoot 30 shots.
Yeah,
And
as long as it's logically possible, you would say it necessarily occurs. Logically possible within our reality. So.
No, I'm just saying like if I give you like a gun that has 30.
But it also might not be that way. Infinite could also just be a loop of the same thing. Like, for example, it's just the same thing over and over again. It's just us in different places in the universe, all over.
Yeah,
It
no,
creates the same thing, but it's still infinite or limitless.
it could be that too. I guess I would just say that it makes a whole bunch of debating pointless then. Like if that's really the case, that makes debating
No,
Well, yeah,
I think
maybe it does.
again-
Maybe it does. Who knows?
No,
Well, but you're thinking about it in the long term, but not within the confines of your life, right? Your life is not meaningless. You
Well,
know what
no,
I'm
no.
saying?
part of creation it is though, because it's infinite, right?
Intrinsically, no,
No,
we don't know
yeah,
if it's infinite, but like intrinsic. So there's a difference between meaningless and intrinsically meaningless, right? So meaningless would just be referring to like, oh, we don't have any type of meaning even from human beings or from reality. Whereas intrinsic meaning would just be referring to something that's embedded within reality. So the value or the meaning that we have is embedded within reality. Neither of those necessarily makes sense unless you have some type of intellectual being that caused that, right? But again, even if that is the case, we can still identify that within our lives. So it's not like it's meaningless. It just doesn't have any intrinsic meaning.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I just say like whatever we're debating about anymore. Just like after saying that, it does kind of feel pointless because it feels like there's infinite versions of us out there doing it, saying different things, doing different things.
Wait, that's possible. We don't know that to be the case, but it's
that is
possible.
I'm not saying it's true or not, and that's where I kind of like people were like, you know, they would sit here and say I'm dumb, like the question if space exists, but I'm like, dude, I question everything. I don't think that's dumb. I think it's dumb that you don't. Like, I think it's dumb to like just go along.
Well, you
with
can ask if existence is even the case, right? Like, is the reality I'm experiencing right now actually real? I could just be a brain in a vat, right?
That's
like,
why
essentially
yoga, because so there's a lot of cool things that have been explained through yoga. Like for example, there's a book that I've read that I really like a lot. I've read it a few times. It's called I didn't read it. It was an Audible, but what's it called? Oh, Autobiography of a Yogi from Yogananda. And on chapter 14, if I'm not mistaken, at least on Audible, it's a chapter about an experience in cosmic consciousness. And this basically talks about like I guess that state of being that they're referring to, that they're in India, because they have different words for it that can't really be explained in the English language, because the English language is all about logic and like thought construct. Whenever in India they experience states within themselves beyond thought, and so they have certain words for that. And so when they explain it, it kind of doesn't really like make sense. And I actually think there was another chapter I was referring to anyway. It was about like and I want to get your opinion on this. What thoughts are, and it's like and this is where it kind of goes into humans being telepathic and stuff like that, being able to do more. But it's kind of like your brain is like a radio, and wherever you tune it, in the ether or wherever you tune it, you start pulling in thoughts to you because there's no such thing as original thought. Everything exists, but where you tune your brain is what you're going to experience. Like right now, let's think of the moon. We tune our brain there. Let's think of dolphins in the ocean swimming right now. They're doing that. We're tuning our brain there. And
You're just talking about focus.
okay, no, yeah, that's also focus as well. But what I'm saying is like it seems like human beings have like, oh, this thought keeps bothering me. I'm having anxiety. But I feel like yoga points out the exact mechanism of what's happening within the brain and to keep watching it, and then you'll see how you're not the mind. And actually, you can exist without parts of your brain, but you can't exist without parts of without your heart. You can exist without parts of your brain, though.
You can't exist without your heart because you can have a pacemaker.
Well, that'd be sick. I guess you can, but I'm
Or
saying,
you can, or
Bypass.
like or someone else's heart. Yeah.
well, wouldn't you need a pacemaker in your heart?
No, you can do it with a
Um,
bypass.
Yeah.
'Cause my
but,
mom
like,
had-
yeah, it's also like, well, I mean, it's technically not your heart working, but yeah, like you can't like
Like you need
bring back parts of your brain when you're
Mm.
brain dead, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't like become sentient again, right? Whereas like can't get a transplant for your brain and still be there, right? But if you do that with your heart, you can still exist.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and that's actually something that's very cool because there was actually damn, if I could find the video, some of these videos just leave like, you ever have that? You find a video you really like, then you can never find it again. If I could find this one, it would be very cool to show you if you were interested in it. But it basically talked about the electromagnetic spectrum is affected by human hearts, and I forget exactly what happened, but on 9/11. The electromagnetic spectrum of the Earth changed based upon all the tragedy that was being projected in humans experiencing it. Like it's like actually looking at a planet. Like imagine like watching Mars, and every day you see like stuff going on, but then one day something bad goes on, and all the beings on Mars are feeling bad. You're gonna see Mars full with a whole bunch of upset people. And I guess like that itself, when you look at Earth outside, actually changed the electromagnetic spectrum of the Earth itself. So, and we are Earth. The human body's made up of Earth. That's where it came from. It's not no like, unless aliens came here and messed with us, but the human body essentially comes from Earth and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just walking Earth. We're walking Earth beings that became conscious. But I would say that the reason a human being has less of an excuse to give into its animalistic ways is because it's aware of that. It's let alone aware of that.
It's literally just reason. That's literally what it is. It's intelligence.
Yeah.
Once you have intelligence, you can kind of reflect upon like the type of instinctual actions that you're engaging in.
What do you think we should do with the world if you were able to like make some decisions in the world and what we do with it with our intelligence? What is the change you'd make that we do?
In what aspect?
Really any
It's a
aspect.
very broad thing. There's so many different things we could point towards.
Okay,
Like the way we educate our kids, the way we get people to be curious about different topics, the way we don't necessarily get people to focus upon their interests, because when you focus upon your interests, you're more likely to do way better. Like when I do something that I enjoy, I'm going to be significantly better at it than something I don't enjoy. Why? Because when you focus on it and you like it, you're more likely to retain the information that you're going over. Right? The same sort of way you're more likely to retain information when you watch a TV show comparative to watching a movie for school or a documentary for school.
So is that like something you put in the world is like, oh, the way we approach education, how to be educated?
Yeah, I would get us to automate stuff as quickly as possible so that we can like stop worrying about work all the time, so that we can focus on things that we enjoy and things that we're good at, because that's when I think like the most actual like creativity and intelligence increases are going to like happen.
I actually agree with that, and that's something that the yogis actually, speak about too. Is they speak about how knowledge is not really memory. Memory is a form of knowledge, but that's all they preach about in school. Is remember this, you remember this, you're smart. Remember this, and it puke it out all.
Yeah,
like,
it's literally just memorization and puke it out. Yeah, it's so bad. It's not even critical thinking. Like
Yeah.
I would make it about critical thinking. I think that we should be taught logic courses. Like fuck teaching a philosophy course. It should be about logic only. Only logic. We can have another ethics course like with that or whatever. But like I think those are really important things like sociology, all these things that we do in college, right? We should be doing that earlier on. These topics are really easy, and like it's not like we can't do it early on. And setting that basis is really good for like getting people to learn other topics. Like logic as a foundation is so fucking important. Like if you know logic, you can honestly get through like a bunch of different majors very easily. Like honestly, like not even gonna lie, economics is like it's like all intuition and logic. That's really like mostly what it is, and probably is the same thing for like a lot of other majors. So
Yeah, hell yeah. I would say I agree with a lot of what you said. The only thing I would add into like what we teach our kids is not just logic, but
oh, not
beyond.
just logic. I'm just saying that that's a very important part. That should be like
No,
the
no, that-
basis.
yeah, I agree with you. I hear you. That's definitely something important to put in there, but I feel like we've never had anything like when it comes to like meditation and stuff like that, because um like the brain, for example, when it sleeps and stuff like that, that's meditation. Every man's like becomes a yogi at night. They just don't know it because the brain like becomes relaxed. That's actually why yogis require less sleep, because they keep their body relaxed most of the time, because why not, you know what I'm saying? People
That's
get
actually why meditation is effective, because
Mhm.
meditation reduces stress, right? And when you reduce stress, you're not as long in the anxiety fight or flight mode, right? And when you're not in that mode, your intelligence level increases.
and I think that's
Um, it's higher than when it is when you have stress. That's what I mean by increases. It doesn't actually like increase from like whatever, but it's like when you are anxious or you have fight, flight, or flight mode, your IQ does decrease a bit. Which is
yeah.
actually something I kind of hypothesized to be like maybe that's the reason why we had increased levels of intelligence comparative to animals, because as we became an agrarian society, or like we had like in broader groups, we didn't have to necessarily stress as much, therefore it would allow for our mental capacities to like increase more, but it doesn't actually
No, that's a good
match
hypo-
up as much. There are animals and other species on the planet that don't have like very high levels of stress that aren't very intelligent, so
I would say though it also has made us dumber, because now that we're so stress free and relaxed and stuff like that, we don't ever seek anything anymore. We don't ever engage in anything very that's needed, like stuff that's
I
needed.
would say that's actually opposite. I don't think that's due to like the fact that we are like in a society like that we don't have to be anxious about anymore. I think it's due to like how we teach people how to act in society. It's not
I don't
necessarily to do with that, because I mean I think that generally speaking we would take all the energy that we placed upon like what we'd be anxious about, and then we just put that into things that we enjoy,
hmm
or
Yeah,
things that
actually
we want to do.
a lot. I just make music. I make my music actually about all this stuff that I speak about. I just haven't put it out there yet because I don't think the world's ready for it. And also, but at the same time, it's kind of like, what else are you going to produce? You're going to talk about women every song and money every song. You're going to talk about the same bullshit, or you're going to open up people's minds when you speak. And that's
I'm sorry, Banner. I'm about to block you from the chat. Sorry, continue.
Oh man, someone's going crazy up in there. Yeah, just Yeah, no. I was just saying that's why, because you were saying something about creativity. Creativity is something that you feel like we need, and I 100% agree with that. That's why I'm doing music. But it's kind of like I don't even know. This is just where I'm different as a person, because I don't know if you're like anything spiritual, or you're just more of like more about the facts and like a realist. Would
I'm both. I mean I have like an aspect of like spiritualism inside of myself, like the search or like the seeking for that type of stuff. But I think that I have to have an underlying level of like facts, logic, and whatnot in order to like ground myself.
That's fair, and yeah, that's true as well. Um, wow.
Banner, you're so down bad.
So what
Yeah. Well, go
are
ahead.
about everything I guess that I've talked to you about in the live, what have you felt like the most appealed to you out of the Christian aspects or the yogi aspects?
What do you mean by appeal to me? Like, I mean,
Like
I'm like interested in both of them necessarily. I wouldn't say one over the other.
which one I guess resonates for you more if you thought about it in your mind right now? Which one would you say resonates more? It's not like it's an end all be all question, and I can always change.
Between the two,
Hmm.
probably the yogi stuff comparative to the Christianity, because Christianity, I mean, I have a lot of responses to that stuff. I grew up Christian myself, so I mean, I've thought through that a lot more, so I
What are
would
your
have more things to point out.
Christianity, for example, of why you would say you wouldn't believe in it? Like, what is something out there that you could point out to me that's like, okay, that's why.
Logical problem of evil.
All right, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Essentially, it wouldn't make sense for, I mean, unnecessary suffering to exist given an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God, right? Because if we're
Mm,
going to say that God had the ability to create or not create, God had the decision between existing alone or existing with creation. So if God, as an all-good being, had the ability to choose to create bad and decides to create bad, that would contradict him being all good, right? So if we can identify any level of unnecessary suffering within our reality, that would identify God based on the characteristics of all-knowing, all-powerful, all good to not exist. So, like, for example, would you think the Holocaust is necessary to reach some ultimate good? Like all the suffering that was caused by the Holocaust?
Yeah, no.
No, right? So, I mean, if we identify that as unnecessary suffering, well, God does not exist as an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God, right? It's possible for a deist God, but that's completely outside of this. So, like, if we identify any level of unnecessary suffering, it would make sense for them to exist. Like, for example, if I give people vaccines, and I give people a normal-sized vaccine with a normal-sized needle, but for one random person, I just decide to increase the size of the needle, which just harms them, but it doesn't give them any extra positive impacts. It just like harms them more. Is that bad for me to do knowingly?
That's where it comes into, I guess, how your morality is. I guess from a
Well, I think anyone would say unnecessary suffering is bad, right? Especially from the perspective of Christianity.
From a Christian perspective, no. From Satan's perspective, it'd be great. I don't know. I don't know where to.
Yeah, for sure, of course. Yeah, well, yeah. So essentially, it would be that since there's unnecessary suffering and God did something bad or allowed for something bad, like in this circumstance, that would imply that that God does not exist, because an all good God can't do something that's bad. They would always have to do things that are good.
I would add something in there that that goes along with what you're saying, and is another reason why I question the God. And really, I guess it could be applied to other religions. I just don't know too much about them to even say it could be for sure. But it's kind of like, all right, when you design a video game, right? When you go on GTA, there's no Minecraft pig programmed in that game at all, because God, the creator of that game, didn't program it that way. So how can God, if God created this creation, everything in here is programmed by him. It is programmed by him no matter what. So you can't say that this is from the devil. No, he programmed the devil.
Exactly, like knowingly too, because God had the ability, like all-knowing, knew exactly what was going to happen given the fact that God created every single aspect of that creation, right? So, like, yeah, a lot of people try to get around it with that, but we would say that there's joint responsibility. Like, I always bring up this simulation analogy. Basically, what I say is that if I had a button right in front of me, where if I click this button, it creates a simulation with two people with subjective experience. It's like me and you. One of these people within the subjective experience would throw the other one into a room and torture them for 100 years, right? I know that this is going to happen given the fact that I clicked the button. If I click the button a billion times, am I responsible for what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have joint responsibility. Not only the person that tortured them would be responsible, but so would I, right? And that same thing would apply to God. God had the ability to choose to create or to not create, all things considered, knowing everything. Therefore, we would say God would have responsibility because God caused it knowingly.
And can I back up on something real quick? Because it hit my mind just now. I will say the only reason why I'm still questioning all this too is because you know how earlier I said something about Freemasons and all that. Well, right after I watched all that video, and like I tried to ask what version of the Bible I could read that's the most authentic, people kept telling me the King James version. But then I looked at King James and did research on him, and he's a Freemason. So it's kind of like, how can you expose?
I don't know about Freemason. I don't know anything about that. But
The-
like, yeah,
the,
King James version is
James
not a
version.
good version.
Yeah, the King James version.
Now we'll go into this
It has
about- yeah.
nothing to do. It has nothing to do with being a Freemason. It has everything to do with the manuscripts that they relied on.
King James was a Freemason, and he authorized.
But I'm saying that did not influence his Bible because James did not make the Bible. It just named after him.
Okay, so he didn't have any say put in the book or anything. He didn't have.
No, he was the king of England
Oh,
during the time, right? He commissioned the book, but he didn't actually form or was on the commission that read the manuscripts that were based on the. I mean, you have to look. I mean, the King James Bible is the last part of like a whole set of Bibles.
I'm not trying to make you guys hate me when I say this, all right? But I do have to like put it out there. Let me just be the person who contradicts that, all right? So, like you were telling me earlier, do you believe everything you see on the internet? Well, where did y'all find that information that that's what took place? Probably on the internet or some book. But
No, I read Greek, so I go back and read the manuscript and I compare
oh,
them.
you read Greek?
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell me like what's the most original document outside of beyond the King James Bible? Because I want to read them.
Greek manuscripts.
Just all of them are the absolute.
So there's if you want, well, it depends on if you want
that's basically
a
what
code.
I don't know.
No, if you want to read Greek, there's it's collection of the Greek manuscripts put together by the German Bible Society. It's I forget the name of it, but basically it's just a collection of all the manuscripts together in like order and everything. So that's probably your best bet, but that's only if you can read Greek.
Yeah, that's the problem. I can't read Greek, but I mean,
Okay. Well, if you can't, then modern,
I have to learn it.
yeah, modern Bibles. So the NRSV, the trying to think.
Wait,
Well, that's the one that I use. Okay, so the NRSV it just got updated 2 years ago. It's it is probably one of the more like academic type of ones, and so that's the one that I use. But the point is that the older Bibles that you go back, like the further you go back, especially with like English Bibles, then you're going to get less and less accuracy because they didn't have enough manuscripts. Most of our manuscripts were discovered in the 1800s.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So like you say those are the most like like they haven't been altered at all from the very
There
one. Like,
is no. There is no unaltered manuscript because we don't have the originals. We have
okay,
copies of copies of copies.
Greek. Like, have you? And since you can read Greek, have you read through the whole Greek Bible or whatever it would be called?
Yeah, I don't read the English. I only
Would
read the
you?
Greek.
Okay. Have you ever read the English? Because I was gonna ask, are they
Oh
similar?
yeah. I
Are
mean,
they?
yeah. Well, no. Well, they all similar in the sense that it depends on which translation you get.
Mm,
If you get a modern translation that relies on the most accurate or the most recent manuscripts, then yeah, I mean they're fairly similar. But a good Bible would have footnotes telling you when they are unsure of a word. So like
yeah.
Parker does a debate on homosexuality, and you often get people who come in and they mention the Bible, right? And one of the things that he points out, and it's a good point, is that within the Greek, the word that is used for homosexuality is uncertain. That we don't know what it means, but
Mm,
but but we translate it as if it means homosexual, when more than likely it actually doesn't mean that at all.
mm-hmm.
So that's the problem.
So the problem is the translations is we don't remember what the words were like. We don't know what they were actually defining when
We
they.
don't know what they refer to. We know the meaning of the word, but we don't know what the context of the word is.
And that could. Do you think that could cause a lot of problems with like basically trying to translate it correctly?
Well, yeah, because
Interpreting it, yeah.
the whole justification for most people for like hating on gay people, like is from what's known as the clobber passages. So that's Leviticus, First Corinthians, First Timothy, and Romans, and they all rely on the interpretation of the Greek and Hebrew words. And so when you have when you have the interpretation of those words that are uncertain, then things become problematic.
And can I ask you like I want to be that guy who pokes again, okay? I just want to ask because I want to get y'all's what y'all's voice would be if somebody was to say this, and it's like, okay, for example, and this is going back to all that evil stuff that I don't know if y'all have like like seen a lot. Like I have to like you know how you got to look a little bit before you're confidently like to say something. Like I have like it's hard for me to let y'all know everything I've seen, but okay, I've looked into Satanism and I know how sacrifice works because that video made me want to look into it and see how they think. And I've read a lot of their stuff or whatever, and it's not really good, but there is a science behind sacrificing someone. And when you do it, like their energy is liberated, and that's why you put a sigil there. And there's a lot of crazy stuff behind it. But then I'm like, okay, well, if that can really exist on our planet, the same planet I walk on, then was Jesus's sacrifice meaningless? And that's the question I have in my mind sometimes. It's like if you can sacrifice someone in this world, there's a science behind how it works. I've literally read it and like looked at it. Uh,
But guest, I just want to say, I think one, your conception of who Christ was is a little bit flawed, right? Christ was
okay.
not just a man, right? He was God incarnate, right? So his sacrifice was unique to him, and the idea is that his death, because sin. I mean, okay, so this is the Christian worldview, right? That sin, that the punishment for sin is death,
Mm,
not hell, but death. Okay, so that's a difference, right? So, i- i- in order to break that that cycle, Jesus, as the Son of God, came down and sacrificed himself in order to break that cycle, correct?
Mhm.
So the idea is though is that unfortunately modern we don't possess that type of power, right? So I'm not saying so I reject the idea that modern or a type of human sacrifice will have that same type of effect. Jesus's death was a spiritual one. It had nothing to do with like energy or anything. It was purely spiritual to appease or to break the cycle of death.
Mm. Yeah, because like in scripture it says he did it to for us. It's like basically like saying you messed up, but I love you so much that I'm gonna pay for you. Like to
Yes,
me,
exactly. Yes.
powerful. And
Yeah.
so, when I hear that, I'm like, even if it's true or not, that's a moral I want in my life. And also, if it is true, you really got nothing to lose. But what I'm saying is like, and I see what you're saying. Like, it could have just been his own thing, but in my opinion, I don't think that's what Jesus stood for. Like his own like liberation and his own path. I think he was saying that it's supposed to be for all of us who mess up. I'm paying your fine. I am doing it because I care about you and you can watch it. It's going to be in your history, the same planet you walk on. You don't believe me? Then you can, there's a science behind people getting sacrificed. And that's where I'm like leading back into that's how people make it in music, the weird stuff. And I'm not trying to get into all that, but it is something that pops in my mind. And actually, maybe I am trying to get into it. There's one thing that I'll say real quick before I change it. It was basically just saying that I watched a guy named Father Spyridon, and he explained about how temptation works. And so there's like three levels to it, and I thought it was just a good analogy. Maybe I want to hear your opinion on it. So it's like um, the first stage is like it being there, and every single person can be affected by that, even Jesus. That's how the devil in the desert approached him, or Satan, whatever, and attempted his spirit. The second is what every human falls short of, except for Jesus, is they'll visualize it in their brain. They'll fantasize about it, the temptation. And the third is where they act and do it. And so where Jesus was different than all of us is that he only fell into the first one, which is you can't really unavoidably fall into it in this world because you're all going to be tempted. The second one, you fantasize about it. I'm sure every human being has been tempted in something what they've called sin and has fantasized about it, but maybe have not have done it, but at least entertained the idea in their brain. And the third is, yeah, you do it. So it's like, um, I thought that was a good analogy that the guy gave. I don't know if it's true, but based upon what you've heard and like that analogy, would you say that that is a good way to look at sin and temptation?
Temptation is the propensity to sin. So temptation is there are things that are within you that pull you to sin, and sin is just anything that is against God's order and God's nature. So that's the point. Parker, what are you laughing at, dude?
Nothing, nothing, nothing. Don't worry about it.
Okay. No. So I'm not I don't let me say this. So the Satan thing, right? Like when Jesus was tempted by Satan for
Mm-hmm.
40 days, right? The idea was though is that Jesus can't be tempted because literally he is perfect, right? He
No,
is
no, no, I'm,
by his godly nature. He can,
I'm,
and so Satan tried to do it, but he failed.
no, I'm saying that like the temptation can still be what's the word I'm looking for? It can still happen. It just because he can't be tempted doesn't mean like the devil clearly did tempt him when he came up and asked the question, but it didn't tempt him. He didn't get tempted. The devil tempted him. So I'm saying
Yeah.
everybody can be tempted is the first stage. Getting tempted in your mind and thinking about it, considering it is the second stage. Doing it is the third. So he's saying that we fall short of all of them, and Jesus only didn't fall short, but he only experienced the first one because everybody has to experience it being in this realm. It's kind of like going to hell but saying you're never going to see a demon. No, you come to this realm. This is what, hey man, this is how Earth rolls. This is what we do on planet Earth. We got some demons here that really be trying to suck us down. I don't really know, but that's just the case. Like whether you want to call it, I don't know. It's just that's simply logic. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I don't really see how that's, I guess, wrong. I think that what you said is also right. I think it's just two different things that we're talking about, honestly. Um,
Okay.
and let me see. what's another thing that, like, 'cause while I'm here, I don't know, it's good to talk to people who are actually willing to invest themselves in these subjects, because not many people are willing to invest anything outside of a meme. Um, and so let me think. Is there anything you want to ask me specifically?
I got nothing. Parker,
Yeah,
thoughts?
I don't have anything either, honestly. Oh my god, you
Well,
got.
I want to ask you, was it Rockin' Librarian? So you don't believe in the Bible, right? Even though you like read and all that.
Spiritually, no, but I appreciate all works of scripture and mythology. So I read it for history. I read it for um, linguistic and academic purposes. But I don't gain. Okay, let me say it this way. I can gain maybe some moral stuff from it. Like there are some things within most um, scriptures of the world and mythologies that have some kind of meaning to them that I can apply to my life. But I don't read the Bible for like theological purposes.
Okay, okay. So it's just more of like how to
I
be like.
did when I was younger. That's why I learned the languages. But I've since left the faith.
How long ago have you left it?
Well, let's see, I'm 30 now, so it would have been about going on almost 10 years now. So I became a Christian when I was really young, so about 9 or 10. I became really devoted. I devoted most of my teen years to it. That that would have been a good 10, 15 years of my life, and then I left once I got to college. So that's kind of the story.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Heck yeah. Um, well, what do you like perceive? What do you think now after all that? Like, what is your new, I guess, foundation of
I'm a I'm an agnostic, so I don't know if so I reject the theistic God. So in that sense, I'm basically like an atheist. I don't believe that there's a all-knowing, all-loving God out there who's personally invested in people's lives. I see no evidence for that. I see no, I just don't see it. But I'm agnostic as to a more wider type of God that is like sitting back and like creating things and then just letting things be. So like a deistic creator God. On that part, I'm agnostic, but that doesn't influence my life in any way, right? Because the God is just there doing his thing and then he leaves. So, but I read all this stuff and I still invest my time in it because one, I find it interesting. It's just an interesting topic, and two, people in like Parker's lives and in other lives, they come on and they make these assertions about how people should behave and how things should be, and I disagree with that because they're using scripture that often in bigoted ways, and I kind of leave it up to my life to kind of combat that.
So you would say, like, in your experience, to you, God is like, would you say it is a deity? You don't know, but I don't know really know. Is it like is it a thing existing, or is it beyond existence? Like that's kind of like, I guess, where
Well,
I'm.
since it's a creator god, then it's beyond the universe. So they exist outside of time and space.
Hmm.
I think they're still bound by logic, but I don't think that they are confined by the rules of this universe in terms of laws and stuff.
I don't
But
know.
that's entirely speculation. I have no fucking idea if that's true or not. That's why I'm agnostic. So so that's me just talking about it.
Would you say, okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I think people want a new guest, and I get that. I've been on here a minute. I will say this is the last thing. It's a thought that crosses my mind, maybe other people. I have like, okay, I'm like, okay, well, let's say God is a being. All right, then I go meet God. Well, I know that everything's made out of atoms. So when I'm looking at his body, it's made out of atoms. I'm like, well, who willed all that? I'm like, because you're just existing like me. I'm like, but what's beyond the fizzling that I'm seeing? What's beyond?
Beyond God, you mean? Is that you're asking?
Can't put a word on it. I'm really trying, but it's like truly in my experience, I can't describe it. And people can say that's a joke. People can take it as what it is. Well, that's their level of where they're at. But this is like serious to me. It's like what's beyond experience itself, because everything is experience. And that's where this deep silence comes within you that almost every religion in the world refers to. Maybe it's there for a reason. Maybe that's what human beings are actually supposed to be doing. We're smart enough to rip apart atoms. Then we're smart enough to make this planet a good place. That's what I think, and I think that we just need. And this is I don't think you guys agree with me. I'm just saying this is kind of, I'm not saying y'all don't. I'm just saying like I think this is a time where it's like that could be what God is. You know what I'm saying? Instead of all this religion stuff where we've been confused up here so long and the mind's running, just watch the mind while it runs. Let it run because the mind's going to do what it wants to do. That's the mind never stops. It always accelerates. But you can increase the acceleration or slow it down depending on how relaxed you are. And that's what happens in sleep. And I don't know. I just think these states of being human beings are capable of doing things that Scripture points to. And I don't know. That's where I was throwing spiritual stuff into it. But yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
If that makes you happy and makes you want to go out and make the world a better place, hey, more power to you. I'm not going to tear you down for
For
that.
real.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I appreciated talking to you guys. Y'all are really cool people.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Take care.
I appreciate you coming on. It was good talking to you.
Bye, guys.
Great day.
Okay, I'll get off too since I've been here
Yeah,
forever.
I'm
for no
probably
reason
gonna get
whatsoever.
off. I don't know if I'm gonna. It's getting to halftime anyway. Honestly,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know
you gotta
if I
watch,
just want to talk to chat or
Rihanna.
something.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know what I'll do.
I don't know either. It's been one of those days, right? You know.
Yeah, because I got banned and everything. It's just been an off day. Been kind of weird.
You need to chillax. You
It
need
feels so weird whenever I ban. Whenever I get banned. Maybe I'll
Well,
join
it's
up
so
AJ's
stupid.
live or something.
Yeah, it's so stupid. I don't get it, man. I mean, you're not. You don't look. I mean, you look young, but you're not that young, for God's sake. I don't get the point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's literally the same band. Like at this point, I feel like they would have picked up on it. You know what I mean? Like even if it's like an AI, like come on, like 3 different times.
Yeah, I
It's pretty
get you.
insane.
Yeah, beard is gonna happen, man. You got to go get some Rogaine or something and put it on your face. I don't know.
No,
You got to
for
do something.
real, for real.
You
I
gotta
gotta
do
do this
something.
now.
Okay. Well, whatever you
All
do,
right, it was
it'll
good
be
talking
fun.
to you, Matt.
Yeah, you too, dude.
For
Bye bye.
sure. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
All right, everyone. I'm gonna be getting off tonight. I'm gonna send everyone over to someone else's live. If you like my content, make sure to follow me if you haven't already. Make sure to follow this account because I got banned on my other one today. I will probably be. Oh, tell us why you were laughing. There's one of my mods in the chat was being very down bad for the guest in the box, asking for him to sing. Okay, and I muted them, right? And then I didn't figure out how to unmute them, right? So they messaged me and they were like, "Oh my gosh, why have you muted me?" Banner being banned? No, for real. About to literally get banned. But yeah, let me look for someone to send everyone to real quick. And then we will move on for today. I will be on tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time like usual. Probably be doing pretty similar topics here on this account. Make sure to follow me here if you haven't already, because I will be on tomorrow, likely on this account, unless I get my account back, which I probably won't until like the end of the week. So I should be back on there by then. But yeah, I appreciate everyone coming through today. Let me find someone real quick to send everyone to. Does anyone know anyone to send them to real quick? Does anyone know anyone that's live right now I can send everyone to? I'm trying to find it real quick. I need the cringe. Yikes. No, you do not. No cringe is necessary. Y'all can see behind me. The game is playing. I'm about to watch it. Yeah, it's 21:14. I already know. Emily, is Emily live? I don't see Emily live. About to watch Rihanna. Yeah, for sure. Jamal is live. Is this Jamal's live? Oh, it's someone else's live that Jamal's in. Mike's evil twin. Is Mike live? Let's watch together. I would be down to. I might maybe. My girlfriend's not going to be here till 7 o'clock. So after I call AJ, actually, everyone, we're actually going to send everyone over to my own account. Okay, everyone here probably in the next hour or two, or actually no, not in the next hour. Here in like the next 30 minutes or so, I might go on YouTube. If you want to check me out on YouTube, link trees in my bio. I'll probably just talk to chat, do nothing crazy, and I'll just respond to this. So we're gonna send everyone over to Mike's live. I don't know what Mike's evil twin. All right, let me look up and see where he's live right now. He's on Mike's evil twin 4. Everyone look up Mike right now. Spam Parker Raid. Again, it's Mike's evil twin 4. MIKE EVILTWIN 4. Everyone look up Mike's Evil Twin 4. Spam Parker Raid. Spam love from Parker. Again, everyone, I will be live here probably like 30 minutes or so on my YouTube page. Make sure to check it out there. Put on notifications. But everyone go there right now. Have a great night, great day, everyone. Peace out, y'all.
It's hilarious. They're a misguided person, fam. Do you understand?
you.